As you can see, about 15 to 20% of the objectives on the 727 is going to involve creating charts and objects. So we will get started by creating a new chart, and we will look at adding some additional data series, switching between rows and columns, and then we will look at quick analysis. So I'll introduce you here to 3 ways you can add a chart to your spreadsheets. And we'll start with the Excel Like a Boss sandbox, and we want to use the EV sales. So we've got something that's relatively simple here that we can get started with our understanding of charting. And I've got this table of 2019 EV sales year to date, and it's not formatted as a table, but that's okay. What I will do to get started to show you one of the ways is to select a range of data that I want to chart. So in this instance here, I'm just going to select the Tesla makes, and let's chart the sales of these 3 models year to date. So to do that, one of the ways is I'm going to go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, and I am going to look at the charting section. Now, obviously here there are many different charts to choose from, and if I click on that button right here, I'm able to see all charts here. So even when I click on all charts, I see recommended charts and all charts, and then I have this list of categories, and then I'll be able to pick individual charts from these categories, or I will be able to navigate to different subcategories. So in the column category of charts, as you can see, you have the 100% stacked column, the clustered column, and lots of other types of column charts. So as you can quickly see, if we went through all of the different charts, we would be here for another several hours. So we'll just use some examples to get you started and get you understanding what the certification test will typically ask you about. So a quick little shortcut to this is to use the recommended charts. It'll just bring you to this recommended charts tab. And then you just get a few that Excel is guessing will provide you a good graphical representation of your data. So I'm going to choose a clustered column here, and then I'm going to click on OK. So now it adds the chart, and it shows you in the range itself what data is being used for the series of data that appears in the chart. So this is an object that's been added to the spreadsheet, and I can move this object just as I can any other object in really any application that you work with in Microsoft Office. You click on when you see the crosshair, and then you can drag it and reposition it, and it floats on top of the other cells on the spreadsheet. So now you can see in this chart that the series that are being represented are the columns January, February, and March. So it's showing you sales of this model, that model, and that model in these 3 months. If I want to switch this and show it by model, I can switch row and column. So that's a very quick and easy way to now graph out the Model 3 sales, Model X, and Model S sales for January, February, and March. You can see the color coding down here. Now, the next thing we want to tackle is changing the data that is shown in the chart. And I can do that by going up to Chart Tools. Anytime I have a chart selected, you will see that the Chart Tools tab appears on the ribbon. So if I click in a regular cell, the Chart Tools disappear. If I select a chart, Chart Tools appear, and then from the Design tab of the Chart Tools, I am able to click on this item right here and select my ranges of data. So that is another way to switch the rows and columns. And the nice thing about this dialog box is that you're immediately able to see what the changes would look like once you click on OK. You kind of have that live preview working in your favor. So let's say in the example here that I wanted to change the chart data range. All I'd have to do really is click on that button. That's probably the most straightforward way to do it. So I can click there and then just reselect my range of data. So that's one way you could do that. The other way is you could edit the axis labels right here, the label range. So if I wanted to readjust this and just select the models because they're all Teslas, again, you get that live preview. So I don't really need to show that it's Tesla. I can go ahead and click on OK, and then OK once again if I'm done. Now, if I start to edit the legend entries here, this is a little less straightforward. If I select March and click on Edit, notice that we're really just editing the series name here. So this won't include, like if I try to do this for April, it won't include the other items. It'll just change the labeling. So again, what you want to do if you want to really add or change the data range is use that item right there. And now I can just click and redrag like that and grab my April data. Now I click on OK, and you can see the results in the chart that I've created. So before we move into the lesson on formatting and editing some of the other elements in the chart, which we'll again do in a separate lesson, we'll leave with this, the other two ways that I mentioned. I'm going to select back in the range of data. And again, as long as I unselect the chart, which I do by selecting another cell, I'm free to add other charts or add a second instance of the chart and do other quick analysis on my data. So that's another way to add charts very quickly to your Excel spreadsheets. I can select a range, and then from this button right here, the quick analysis button, I can give that a click, and we've seen earlier some of the formatting options we had. Now we look at charts. So same thing, clustered column here. I'll just give that a click, and I've added in a clustered column for these non-Tesla models here. I would need to go in and edit the data and change the series legends here to include January, February, March, and April. Finally, the last way that I want to mention that you can quickly add a chart is that you can select a range and hit the F11 key, the function 11 key on your keyboard. So keep that in the back of your mind. The most important things from this lesson are using the Insert tab of the ribbon, and then finally using that quick analysis grouping to add lots of different charts.